Hi, I'm host Eric here with host Trenton and a bunch of other people, including contractor under Guadalupe First Seal, Hami INFP listener, JC, Milkman, Omnia Otnahil, Plebeian Eric, and QB Sauce, and we're talking about type and relationship to video game. Trenton just had some observations that perhaps there was a correlation between N and or S in video games, that Ns would be more likely to play video games possibly than S. But I would posit that Ns would be more likely to play role-playing style games, and S would be more likely to play first-person shooter type games. Although those things can be combined into one and make it appealing to both types, which I think in general they tried to do in video games. I would guess that if you have your N or your S low in the stack, regardless, if you've got your N or S low in the stack, then it's going to be less appealing to you. Like, I think that my ex-wife who went with the SE, I mean, with your extra, if you have extroverted intuition or extroverted sensing low in the stack, then you will have less interest in video games. That's my hypothesis. Anybody want to comment on that? Let's start with Trenton since you introduced this topic.
I feel as if I was just thinking about it, and now that I feel like my NE and TI are pretty much fully developed, my fascination of being completely enamored with Call of Duty in middle school was because TI was starting to say, "Hey, you fuck," and then Call of Duty was like, "Hey, here's all these variables take into account, build your own logical systems, and then fucking do whatever you want. Be better than that guy. Do better than that guy." Using the logical systems that you create in your head, and TI loved it. It was a good way for TI to use itself and build itself. But after I stopped, after TI was like, "All right, I'm pretty much done," I stopped giving a shit about Call of Duty. When I get on it, I'm just like,
I think it's NE that was done. You ran out of possible avenues in which to think about it. New
That's
possible
true.
avenues. Okay, well, I mean, I had periods of my life where I played a lot of video games, periods where I played a little video games, periods during adulthood or during my youth. I went back and forth. I don't think your TI and NE are fully developed. I do think they're adult tools, but I think that they grow not just in raw capacity, but also in contextual depth. So that you'll develop more and stronger associative paths that allow you to use them more effectively, even though they're probably, I agree with you, at their max processing power at this point. So I think there's two different variables there to consider about development of those functions. Going on to the video game, going back to video game for a second, though, do you, Lorenz Walker, have any thoughts on your relationship with video games over time, how it's changed, or with the hypothesis that extroverted N and extroverted S lower than 2 mean you're not going to like video games?
Extroverted N, extroverted S lower than 2, you won't like video games?
Right. So if your extroverted perceiving function is lower than 2, you won't like video games. And if your extroverted perceiving function is higher than 2 or higher, then you will like video games.
I would say I probably liked video games more when I was younger. I find a lot of them now. I find the experience just unfulfilling and boring. There are some games that I can just play like all the time, and that just be it. But for the most part, I don't get the enjoyment out of them. So I agree with your earlier observation. Yeah, I can't really play. I can't play shooters as somebody with NE. I just it doesn't.
You like resource distribution games better?
Yeah, I like RPGs better. I like resource distribution, time management games, stuff like that.
Me too. I will say that one middle ground I think that both types like a lot is the Madden football, which is the only game I've played in the last, I don't know, 20 years or something, or 15 years maybe, is football on the console. It was a game I used to play quite a bit. Before I played Madden, I played NCAA until they ruined it by suing them. And I really enjoyed playing that, but at the end of the day, I hit a ceiling. I could only get so good. I mean, Plebeian Eric points out wisely the TI-FE axis. So you're interacting with other people on an FE level. I think that Mega Bro would probably say you're interacting with them in football anyway on an FO level, which is you're just trying to be the winner. Occasionally you'll have sort of collegial interactions with others that you had a close game with, but primarily it's a haha I'm better thing rather than a let's be friends thing.
I enjoy the competitive. The only time I can play him in Call of Duty now is if it's competitive. Back in the day, it was just using being social in general. Now it's the only time I can play seriously is if I'm competitive.
Right, so it's you're unable to make the leap in single player mode anymore. Basically.
No, I've never been able to play single player in any game ever. The only game I played single player in was Batman.
Well, I've never played Batman, so I couldn't say anything about that. What does RTS FTW mean?
Real-time strategy for the win.
Oh. Is that what football is? Is that a description of football as a type of game? Like Madden?
Sounds like it.
Okay. See, the thing about that one, it has stick skills and it's got strategy skills. And I was never very good at the stick skills, and I was always really good at the strategy skills. So, I'd run very frustrating kinds of game plans against people where I'd slow it down to a fucking crawl and just run the ball, Run the ball, get 3 yards. Then when I was like 3rd and 4, I'd get him to go off sides with a false start. With a jumping off sides, and I'd get the 3-5 yards like that. And I'd inch down the field and use the whole half just with one drive, That sort of thing was the way that I got around my bad stick skills. And eventually my stick skills did get better, but I never would be good enough at them to be a really high-level player, And so that's why I think at the end of the day I stopped doing it. If I could have continued to proceed up the ranks and become actually a really strong player, I would have felt differently.
I think the reason why I enjoyed playing so much was because my connection was really bad. So I was always trying to compensate in some way, and outplaying, having to think of a way to outplay people in the game.
With a bad connection.
Yeah, because I had a bad connection.
Right. Other types and their relationships on video games. Go ahead.
When somebody reaches their skill cap, do they become less motivated or get less enjoyment out of the game?
I think so. JC, you got any experience with video games? How's the ESFP's relationship with video games?
Very little. I like to think that I didn't play video games because I'm a female, not because I'm an ESFP. But I don't know, it just didn't interest me really. Well, that's not even true. It interested me, but I wasn't good at it, so I was just like, I can spend my time doing something else that I am good at.
Right.
It was taking me too long to get good, so I gave up.
That's a good reason to give up on something.
I think, yeah. When I did do whatever, play video games, I like to be really into the game. So I think SC has this ability to become immersed in whatever it's doing. It's so with video games, I think particularly it would be even more so because of the nature of video game. The only games I ever really played was freaking Guitar Hero and whatnot.
Oh, right. That would be one that you'd have a bit of an advantage at. Hi, Hami. We're talking about video games and the types and whether or not there is a corresponding affinity or desire to play video games that corresponds with where your extroverted perceiving function is in your stack. So that if your extroverted perceiving function is 1 or 2, you're more likely to play video games, and if your extroverted perceiving function is 3 or 4, you're less likely to play video games.
I have something I want to add. It might help somebody understand the difference between SC and NE. And it's that I can imagine here's an ESTP player playing Call of Duty, right? You're on a map, right? There's a planet search to store something. And after playing 3 games straight, the player has done the same shit the same way every time. And if you have SETI, you're able to say, I am in the same environment that I was in 5 minutes ago. TI has figured out exactly why this person's doing this and where they're going to be. Got it. But any TI, I've noticed that instead of actually acknowledging the actual map or the area of which people would go, I would dig much further than needed to, and I would say, this person is going this way over some crazy bullshit. And I would end up dying every time because I would come up with some...
You'd outthink yourself. You'd outthink yourself.
I wish there was some way I could explain, some situation that explains it perfectly.
You keep changing your methods because of freaking NE.
Yeah.
So instead of sticking it out and getting to an end, you just keep changing what you do.
Right.
And never get to
well,
the end.
I would be doing something else. I'd be like, nobody in the history of Call of Duty has ran this way, and I'm taking this gun with me that nobody's ever used. And watch this. I understand these principles. I'm going to kill 1,000 fucking people. I guarantee it. And I would die every time.
Yep. And you'd never lose the optimism, I bet, either. The next time you're sure you're going to get it.
No, never lose it.
Other thoughts on video games here?
One thing, I'd be like, okay, so the hard thing to do would probably be go here and stand, and then I'd be like, they've already thought of that shit. I know, I'm going this way.
All right, somebody was gonna say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, even though SE is low on my stat, I've always played video games my whole entire life.
Okay.
And the way I play is kind of similar to how SCPs play it, but usually I have to lose or get killed in a level, and then after that I regroup and I figure out exactly what I need to do, and then I complete the mission, basically.
So you figure out what you need to do to win, and then you do that one thing, right?
Yeah.
How boring! What a boring thing to do.
Plan it out. He uses AI to plan out how he's going to win the game.
Right.
Dude, this is a perfect example of ED, dude. When I played, nobody could play games with me because I would say, all right, look, I remember I was playing with some INTP, and he was like, I've played this a million times. We got to throw this Simtex grenade over there and take out those robots, and then I figured out we go this way, this way, this way, and then we go here. And immediately I'd be like, see, that's what you've come into in the 6 hours you play. You've not taken into account that I'm a different individual, and you cannot take into account that if you run this way, this way, this way, and every time I do some dumb shit differently, one time it worked, but most time it fucking didn't. I just fucked everything over now in retrospect.
Right. Well, yeah. We have a remarkable faith in our ability to be right, even when we know nothing about something. Go ahead, Hami.
Yeah, while I'm playing a game, it could be the first time or second time that I'm playing it, but I usually can notice the pattern of the game and the way that the game plays out.
That would seem to be consistent with my understanding of NI in general. That you're going to try to, as you experience a bunch of external factors, they eventually coalesce in your head, and you get a clear vision of how to attack that particular engine.
Yeah. And I also really like do any of you guys play Football Manager? It's basically
Manager?
where you create your own team. You basically have your own professional team, and then you basically create the team on a tactical level, and you basically win.
So it's fantasy football, yeah?
Go throughout the season and win. Yeah.
Well, I would anticipate that another thing the INTJ would probably be good at would be poker.
Yeah. But I think SCPs or TI are actually better at poker.
My problem is I'm much better at online poker than I am in live poker because I'm pretty easy to read, I guess.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. That's one thing I always thought. I was like, I'm gonna fucking play poker because these people. I'm like, I have no fucking idea how to play poker, but I'm like, I know I can figure out how to make the most perfect poker face. It's just about what kind of position you're gonna put your face in. I mean, how many variables would I have to take into account? Of course, I'm gonna be able to master it in 5 seconds. Fucking course I can.
Yeah, it's hard. Anybody else
or
want
just keep the same face?
Yeah, see, I think that's why you have an advantage. You just be your normal self all the time.
Well, I think an INTP could do well at that as well. I could be pretty blank-faced and stoic while playing poker, analyzing the probabilities.
I can imagine you would as well. I mean, the
I
thing is,
can never have
go
a straight
go
face.
go ahead, JC. Sorry to interrupt.
I said I never have a straight face ever. Never. What is that? A straight face?
Sounds
Right.
like SCI action.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on games?
I can tell you that we would be very bad at reading people's poker faces, ENTPs. I'll leave it. I'll leave it at that.
We are. I am anyway. All right. I'm easy to fool, so I try not to read when I'm doing poker. I try not to do any FE shit at all. You know, it's the only thing you can do. The best thing you can do is don't try to compete on FE levels. Just try to compete on math levels. You know. So anyway, that's my thought. And I'm not very good at poker, so I'm not really one to be taking poker advice from. Thanks for watching Talk with Fans, people. And for the last time, for a couple hours anyway, please don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.